Hi, everybody. We are Group 4, and we're going to be covering Section 5.1, the representations of integers. From the Latin word meaning whole, integer is another word for a whole number. We deal with integers anytime we add, subtract, or count. Hello, my name is Alyssa Pierce, and today you will be learning how to find the absolute value of an integer, and you're going to be learning about the criteria needed to represent an integer. So what is an integer? Integers are an extension of the system of whole numbers. Positive integers are natural numbers, or counting numbers as some of us refer to them. An example of those are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, negative integers are the opposite of natural numbers. So the examples of those are -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6. So those are the opposite of our positive integers. So now we're going to talk about what absolute value is before we dive into the absolute value of integers. So absolute value is the magnitude of a real number without regard to its sign. So what that means is basically the number itself with no regard to if it's positive or if it's negative, it's just the number. Now, absolute values can never be negative. So an example of an absolute value would be the absolute value of -2 would be 2. So an easy way to figure those out would be this. So how to solve absolute value problems. I like to use a number line because I'm a visual learner. So here we have two number lines with two different absolute value problems. Here we are trying to solve the absolute value of -5. So like I said before, absolute value can never be a negative number. So what you want to ask yourself is, how many spaces or how many numbers does it take to get from -5 to the meeting point of 0? So we're just going to go to the number line and count those. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It takes 5 spaces to get from -5 to 0. So the absolute value of -5 is 5. Here we're asked for the absolute value of 4. Now you see the 4 is positive, so some people might assume, oh, absolute value means opposite. No, it does not. So it takes 4 spaces to get from the 0 to the 4. So the absolute value of +4 is, again, +4. So my group's going to cover many representations of integers, including a number line representation, colored counter representation, and mail time representation. So my group mates are going to go over that a little bit further with you, but I'm going to give you the criteria needed for the representation of integers. So you can kind of follow along with them and think of this criteria as we go. So there are 5 main things that you have to know and have to represent an integer. The first thing is how each integer is represented, including the possibility that an integer can be represented in multiple ways. Also, how the representation of any non-zero number describes both the magnitude and the sign of the number. How 0, the unique integer with a 0 magnitude, is represented. Why the addition by 0 property holds, so that n plus 0 equals 0 plus n for all integers, and Heather's going to go over the addition by 0 property up next. And we have how every integer n is paired with its opposite, so that n plus -n equals 0. So integers can seem intimidating if you're unaware of what they are, which all they are is whole numbers. They're not fractions, they're not decimals, they're literally just whole numbers. So by recognizing integers as whole numbers, both positive and negative, you can feel more confident in using them in mathematics. So I just want to thank you for watching, and I hope my presentation has given you a deeper understanding of integers. Now Heather is going to be teaching you all about representing integers with colored counters, the addition by 0 property with colored counters, and taking opposites with colored counters. So just be sure to remember the criteria I just went over as you're watching these individual presentations from my group members, because that will come into play for you. So thank you for watching, and I'm going to go ahead and pass the baton to Heather.